Okay, so I'm picking up with where I left off on the last one. This is 1862 now, and I was just saying how Robert E. Lee was contemplating a change of strategy, that instead of just remaining on the defense and making the Union come to them, he wants to try to potentially score some victories in Union territory, which means actually invading. And remember, the idea is to hopefully for him. He believes that this could, if he could win some victories up in Northern Territory, uh, they might end the war. They might quit sooner. He also could potentially win some support from other countries if they see some victories uh, for him in Northern Territory. So he's heading up into Maryland. And so one thing that's really interesting about this battle that's about to come is that, remember, the Union Army being led by George McClellan, they actually came across Robert E. Lee's plans completely by accident. Marching through a field, they discovered a pack of cigars just laying there in the field, and wrapped around the pack of cigars was a paper with Lee's plans for what he was about to do, right there in their hands. So when McClellan was given this information, here's where his ineffectiveness as a general is at its peak. He has the information right there in his hands as to what Lee is going to do. What he should do with it is maybe utilize that information to strategically maneuver his men into a place that could uh, that they could be prepared for Lee, and to be able to maybe be able to capture him and his men, and that could end the war right there. He has the ability with this information to end this war if he could score a major victory here and potentially capture Lee. What does McClellan do with this vital, potentially war-ending information? He sits there and thinks and ponders and waits. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? He basically is completely indecisive and fails to act on the information. And by the time he starts to maneuver his men, it's now too late. And what ends up happening is that the two armies converge in a town called Sharpsburg, Maryland, near a creek called Antietam. So the Battle of Antietam really shouldn't have happened if McClellan didn't suck so bad. But what happens? September 17th, 1862, the two armies converged in Sharpsburg. And in the span of 11 hours, this battle lasted for approximately 11 hours, 23,000 casualties. 23,000 casualties in 11 hours. I have always struggled with how to kind of explain how many people that is. I have looked up how many people fit into different stadiums and venues, so maybe that can give you an idea. Arena, NC State basketball game. Sorry to start with NC State here, but many of you maybe have been to an event there, whether it's a basketball game or a Hurricanes game or a concert. PNC Arena holds 19,700 people. Then I looked up the Dean Dome. Go Heels. Wait. If any of you have ever been to a Carolina basketball game there, the Dean Smith Center holds 21,000 approximately. So let's imagine, pick one of those. If you want to pick the PNC Arena, if you want to pick the Dean Dome, sorry, not looking up Cameron Indoor Stadium, guarantee you it's a whole lot less. So any Duke fans out there, just bear with me here. Imagine one of those stadiums entirely full complete sellout, still a couple thousand short as far as how many casualties there were at Antietam. It's incredible. And it's almost for nothing here. I mean, this could have been avoided. And there wasn't really a victory here. Nobody came out significantly victorious. It was mostly a stalemate, although I'll get back to that in just a second. But 23,000 casualties at Antietam is just mind-blowing to me. And so one of the significant things about Antietam, to make sure that you get in your notes and make sure you know, is that it was the single bloodiest day of American military history. In all of American history, from any war or conflict, more people died on this single day than any other day in American history. So make sure you get that in there. Now, this does not end up being the bloodiest battle of the war. Gettysburg is going to even surpass this. But as far as one day, a battle that happened for 11 hours, 23,000 casualties, single bloodiest day in American military history. Now, I told you nobody really won this battle, but Abraham Lincoln is going to use this battle as a way to sort of shape some policies going forward. So keep in mind, for the first 2 years of the war, 1861, 1862, the Confederates have mostly been victorious here. They won at the Battle of Bull Run. We know that. They've successfully defended Richmond. So battles all around Richmond and Virginia have been Confederate victories. So things have been looking good for the Confederates so far. And here Lee has taken his army into the North and attempted to capture some of the North. Was he successful in capturing Sharpsburg, Maryland? No. So Abraham Lincoln's going to take that as a win. The North didn't win this battle, but they didn't lose it. And that's a step up from a lot of the battles before now. So Abraham Lincoln is going to use this as a publicity kind of thing. Not like there's no like TV. He's not going on saying going on TV having some win or whatever. But he's going to shape what's going to come next around the idea that the North is now being more successful, so that people will buy into some of the plans that he has going forward. And a specific example of this is going to be the Emancipation Proclamation. So that's going to be the next major thing that we get to. And he probably could not have managed issuing the Emancipation Proclamation if he didn't have some kind of win to base it from. The idea that the people might not have bought into it as much, and he may not have successfully been able to implement it if they were continuing to lose. So he's going to shape Antietam as a win. But don't think that he's not pretty frustrated with McClellan, because really this war should have been over. McClellan squandered the opportunity. So another very significant impact of Antietam. So you should have gotten, it was the single bloodiest day in American history. You should have gotten that Lincoln is going to proclaim it as a victory and use it to instill confidence in the North and to allow him to go forward with some of his proposals. But another significant thing that happens after Antietam, here's some pictures from Antietam. They talked about just all the piles of bodies, whole divisions being slain and laying in piles. The picture right behind my face, kind of weird, is a mass grave, because they didn't individually bury each of the people. They basically piled them into mass graves. It's just really, really tragic. Here's a quote from Captain Emory Upton. "I have heard of the dead lying in heaps, but never saw it till this battle. Whole ranks fell together." So as I was saying, sorry. Lincoln, pretty frustrated with McClellan, proceeds to fire McClellan as head over the Union Army here. I love this quote from Lincoln. He said, "McClellan is a pleasant and scholarly gentleman. He is an admirable engineer, but he seems to have a special talent for a stationary engine. I begin to feel as if he would never get ready to fight." So what he's saying is he's a great engineer. Think of an engineer running a train, but he's like, the train is stationary. It's staying still. That's referring to the fact that McClellan couldn't make up his mind, couldn't act, that he's not aggressive enough, and that's causing him to be a hindrance for the Union Army. So he fired McClellan. Here he is. I've shown you this picture before, but visiting McClellan out in their camp and firing McClellan there. Now, McClellan's going to be back later because they don't really have a whole lot. Remember, the Union really lacks in good military leadership. So he will have some leadership role later on. I don't remember exactly if it was the same exact level position, but he would be hired back later on. Battle of Fredericksburg is not one that I necessarily care that you know that much. I just think it's especially tragic because of kind of who it involved. And so it happened. It's a really bloody battle as well. Happened for 4 days in December of 1862. General James Longstreet was in charge of a division that was here at Fredericksburg. But Longstreet had recently gotten word that 3 of his children had passed away due to scarlet fever just in the span of a week. I can't imagine anyone having to go through that, but imagine Longstreet out at war, getting this information. He's not at home. He's not able to be with his wife or his family to grieve. And basically he channeled his grief. People deal with grief in a lot of different ways, and no judgment here, but he basically channeled his grief into anger in that and determination. And he told Lee that he said, if you put every Union soldier now on the other side of the Potomac on that field over there to approach me, I will kill them all before they reach my line. And so this battle ended up being one of the most lopsided victories for the Confederates, meaning that they won by a bigger margin than other ones. I don't think you can see the information because it's behind my face on here, but Union losses from this battle were 12,653. Confederate losses were 5,377. So close to 13,000 compared to 5,000. So it was just a major victory for the South, and I think largely maybe due to Longstreet's sort of channeled grief there. All right, so that concludes this PowerPoint. So I will pick up with the very significant 1863 year of the war in our next video. So thank you very much.